Welcome in, everybody, to another episode 2 of Choosing the Magic, brought to you by choosingthemagic.com. I'm Jason, this is Brandi, and we are, well, she's a Disney adult. I'm more of the Hogwarts Universal fan, but we love going to the parks. We have 2 kids that work there, and we are starting this podcast to share our love of all things magic with all of you who are listening. This episode is brought to you by Peaceful Warrior Coffee Company, where they roast only specialty grade beans on the day you order them and ship them to you the same day that they roast them. And shipping is always free. Use discount code MAGIC for 10% off your first order. Baby, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Not too long ago, we got to go for a preview of the new TRON-Lightcycle Run attraction at the Magic Kingdom. And it's always so much fun when something new is happening in one of the parks. I remember that feeling when Cosmic Rewind opened at Epcot. There was something new happening. People were excited. You could get a virtual queue. You were almost guaranteed to get to ride it, and you wouldn't have to wait very long. And the world's about to experience that again with this new Tron attraction. Going into this ride, were you a Tron fan? Have you seen either of the movies?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, me neither.
I shouldn't admit that, but I have not seen them there. So
yeah, I haven't either. So I really didn't know what to expect. I knew it had kind of a Matrix feel about the advertising and the lighting and some of the stuff that I'd seen from the queue. But I really didn't know what to expect at all. I had not watched any of the ride-through stuff that's available on YouTube from, cast members and such that have ridden it.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to talk about it and unpack it a little bit with you. Friends who are listening, we did do a review video that was released this week on our YouTube channel, Choosing the Magic. You can find it at choosingthemagic.com. You can go there and watch all of our short videos from in the parks. You can see Brandi eating some of her favorite foods from a recent festival at Epcot. And you can also watch these podcast recordings on video. If you happen to be listening to the podcast feed, you can go to the YouTube channel and catch the video. You don't want to miss Brandi. She's awesome and she's beautiful. So, all right. So we go for the Lightcycle Run. We get in the queue, and you could tell right away this thing is new and different. This doesn't look like anything else in any of the parks, I don't think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that you can tell. I mean, you can see, it's really cool that you can kind of see the coaster coming by as you walk kind of under it as you're entering the queue. And so that's really cool because it's like a little glimpse of what you're going to get to ride. And obviously the coaster vehicles are very different than anything else at Disney World. So the closest thing is probably like Hagrid's. But even so, I think you sit so much farther forward on Tron that it's different than even that. So
yeah, imagine Hagrid's at Universal if you were in the position that you're in for Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom. You're leaning forward, your calves are slidden back behind you. It's kind of like, a motorcycle, but you're leaning forward like a racing cycle almost, which is what it is, right? It's a race attraction.
It is, right. Right, yeah.
So just first impressions, you've gotten to ride it twice. You got to ride it with our son at his cast member preview while I was slaving away at my job in the hotel room while you were off having a good time on your day off. I know,
poor baby.
Poor me. But we got to ride it together with our 12-year-old son when we went for our annual pass holder preview. Now, this thing's been a long time coming. It's been going on for years. They started building it before COVID. I can hardly remember the world before COVID, but they've been building it that long. They tend to roll out new rides or open the new attractions. Excuse me. I apologize, Disney. They're opening new attractions on a scheduled basis to kind of spread them out to get crowds in the parks on a scheduled basis, right? They gave us Cosmic Rewind at Epcot last year. They released Seven Dwarfs. They opened Flight of Passage, which you said on our last episode is your favorite in the park. It'll be interesting to hear if that's still true after Tron or not. But what were your impressions riding Tron for the first time?
I thought it was a really cool launch. The launch is really cool, and the position that you're in makes it feel a lot faster than it actually is. Speed wise, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to be comparing, but speed wise, it's comparable to Cosmic Rewind. But the position that you're in, it does make it feel like it's a lot faster, especially on the launch. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not going to get too far into the weeds on comparing because we're doing a whole episode on our next episode of Cosmic Rewind versus TRON-Lightcycle Run. And so you'll hear all of that on the next episode. But I will say this. Cosmic Rewind feels very enclosed. It feels it's a traditional roller coaster. Now, once the ride starts, those ride vehicles do some weird things you're not used to in a roller coaster. But it feels very stable, very controlled. This feels much more freestyle. It feels much more wind in your face. You're leaning into the movement. That launch is powerful, and you just feel all the force of that. It's a really, really, really fun ride. It's really exhilarating. Even just when you're walking under the canopy to go into the cube, and the coaster goes past you, it goes over your head. It's exhilarating just watching other people do it.
It is. Yeah, it really is. It's fun to watch other people on the ride. They have the track kind of coming down by where you're walking in. So not only are they kind of above you, but you can literally see their faces. It's a really good angle for taking pictures if you're a non-rider, but you have people riding, like you're doing rider swap or something. It's a great angle to take pictures because you can really get a great view of people coming in a way that other roller coasters don't always offer. And so, yeah, you get to see what fun you're about to have before you get on the ride. So, yeah, it's pretty fun walking in and seeing that and hearing people, yelling and screaming because they're having so much fun. So,
and it helps build anticipation, right? You hear them screaming and you feel the rush of the coaster go by you, and it just makes you more excited to ride it yourself. All right, let's talk about the ride vehicle itself. Do you like it?
I did. I liked it more than I thought. I was initially a little concerned. I had read some issues about, like if you're bigger than a size 8, you're going to have issues getting on the ride. And I didn't have any issues at all. It wasn't tight anywhere on me at all. I had read that it might be really tight on your calves, and I have kind of large calves for a woman, but that didn't bother me. That may be different for some men, but I had also read some people had some pressure on their stomach because they were comparing it to Flight of Passage. But where Flight of Passage is real tight across your midsection, I didn't find Tron to be that way at all. You're really leaning kind of forward and kind of laying like this, and it really locks in kind of more around your hips, I felt like, as well as on your calves. I was able to lift up while we were on the ride and raise my hands up, traditional roller coaster. And you, like you said, you really are you're really free in the vehicle in a way that you're not with a traditional lap bar kind of holding you in place. There's nothing kind of beside you on either side. And so that's kind of cool. The only thing I don't like about the ride vehicle is the handlebars. They're really rough on your hands. I don't know why they chose that texture, but I didn't like holding on to them. They kind of hurt. So
I think it's made to feel like a real motorcycle or like a racing cycle.
Yeah, I've never been on one and
for traction, so you can hold on to them better. But you're right, the texture is a little strange feeling to somebody who hasn't had that experience on the open road. The ride vehicle was the exact same for me. I was nervous because we had heard some things about bigger people.
Yeah.
I'm 280 pounds plus. You're a lot smaller than me. I wasn't worried about you, but I was definitely worried about me. And I had no trouble whatsoever. So, friends, if you're 280 or less, you're probably fine. Now, there may be some folks that go to the gym regularly or just walk a lot, and they have these huge calves. You may feel some pressure on the back of your calves because there is a mechanism that locks in your behind your calves. There's also one, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, on your lower back that kind of locks in behind you. But other than that, your upper body, you're leaning forward, but you feel a good range of motion. You can reach the handlebars. And again, you're going to feel that wind blowing into your face during that launch. And it's really, really special. It's really a great ride. What did you think about the ride itself after the launch?
I thought the ride was a lot of fun. I thought that it was really cool. I really love the parts inside in the dark. We rode it during the daytime both times. I really think it'll be really cool at night. So I'm excited to hopefully get a virtual queue that comes later in the day to ride it at night. But yeah, I love the inside sections a lot. I thought that the grid, parts were really cool. And the lighting effects and things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was over really fast though.
Yeah, and we're going to unpack that a bit in a moment. We kind of skipped past the queue itself. The queue itself is really fun. The lighting is awesome. I remember like during the pre-show, they've got this thing where they're like digitizing you and taking you into the grid of Tron.
Right.
Again, I haven't seen either of the movies. I did not honestly understand what was happening to me, but it was cool. The effects were good. You see this computer screen and you're being digitized, and then all of a sudden the screen just kind of drops and you see the coaster and you see somebody taking off right there in front of you, and all of a sudden you're hit with, oh, I'm about to experience this thing for real, because now you are in the grid. And so you go on down, you get in the coaster, and they cut you loose, and that launch just shoots you out of there. It kind of has a feel. When I was on it, I was remembering Rock and Roller Coaster, because there's a lot of lighting in the dark on the inside.
Right.
Rock and Roller Coaster feels like it launches fast, and it has a lot of inside with darkness with some neon lights and stuff. And there's some of that, but I thought this was a lot better done. Maybe because I'm not particularly an Aerosmith fan, but the effects inside the darkness of Tron are really, really good.
Right. And it's really smooth. So like I don't ride Rock and Roller Coaster anymore because it's kind of jarring to me, and I tend to feel my age when I come off of it. I usually end up going, oh, I remember why I don't ride that anymore. Whenever I decide, oh, I'm going to ride that this time, I just, there's something always gets hurt, and it's not like that on Tron. It's so smooth. You just glide along the track. And so that's really nice too. And yeah, I think the inside effects with the darkness, while yeah, there is some comparison to Rock and Roller Coaster, I think they're better done. I don't know. Rock and Roller Coaster, it's really, really dark, and then all of a sudden there's just like, a stoplight or something. And this was like a lot of moving grids, and I don't want to give too much away, but I felt like it was a really cool effect when you're inside. There's a lot to take in, so definitely one you're going to want to ride a couple of times to really get the full effects of everything that's going on.
All right, so what did you like about the ride in general? Do you pretty much have a pros and cons list about everything in life, I think. So what are your pros of the new Tron attraction at Magic Kingdom?
I like the launch, and I like that the ride vehicle, like the way you get to ride, because it changes your experience, and it's different than anything else that's there right now. So those are my two pros, I guess, would be the launch is really cool, and then the ride vehicle / how it allows you to ride in a new manner. So
I've heard comparisons between this and Space Mountain. Do you get those comparisons?
I understand. I think there's kind of that dark, with some lights, and it's kind of, smooth. It's not intense like Rock and Roller Coaster, but I think Tron's way, way better than Space Mountain.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right. And I like Space Mountain a lot, but
yeah,
the bigger I got, the less comfortable I was on Space Mountain. Those ride vehicles are not built
they're a little tight.
Plus size men like myself. And so I love Tron for that reason. It didn't really feel like Space Mountain to me, though. I think it was a lot better than that. I mean, not even an upgraded Space Mountain. It just felt like a totally new thing.
It is. I think it is a totally new thing. I think that the ride vehicles do that itself, but I mean, the only thing I think people must just be comparing it to Space Mountain because it's kind of smooth and in the dark. But I don't really know why else. I mean, you're out in the daylight too, which I think is a cool thing, moving from inside to outside. I think that's cool when coasters do that. and kind of give you a dual experience like that. And obviously Space Mountain doesn't do that. So, but yeah, it's definitely better than Space Mountain. So,
okay. So there's been some talk about the virtual queue that is unveiling. They're already doing like a soft opening of Tron
soft
as we
opening,
record
yeah.
this. Now we're releasing this episode on April 3rd, the day before the park opens this new attraction officially, and the virtual queue will launch officially at that time. What are you hearing about what's going to be different about this virtual queue than, say, Cosmic Rewind?
Mostly you better be on time for your slot. So really, you're not going to, like right now with Cosmic Rewind, the ride does not break down very often. It's very reliable. It's a quick loader. They ride a lot of people through Cosmic Rewind. And it's been okay if you have a dining reservation that conflicts with your virtual queue getting called back. It's not a big deal if you're an hour late. If you're an annual pass holder and you make your virtual queue in the morning and your time gets called at 3, but you don't get off work till 5, you can still shoot on over there after you get off work at 5 and ride your ride. And the cast members have always let everybody on. I've never heard of anybody having any issues at all. We've driven down there several times. We have a 6.5-hour drive right now. We make our virtual queue in the morning and drive down and hop on. And usually our boarding queue gets called before we get there. And so we're usually late, and nobody's ever given us any problems. That's not the case with Tron. All the annual pass holders that I've seen talk about it so far who are trying to go after work. Some of them, they just missed their push notification for whatever reason, technology glitch, whatever, they didn't get it. And they showed up at the estimated time that they had been given. You know how it gives you like a comeback in 535 minutes? They showed up at the estimated time and it had gotten called an hour before and they missed it and they weren't allowed on. And so Tron, apparently, we already know it doesn't load as many people as Cosmic Rewind. It just doesn't ride as many guests. And so they're not pushed. And I think maybe there's not as many trains running. I'm not sure of that. That's just my guess, but it doesn't ride as many people. They don't put as many guests through per hour. So you've got to be on time. So I would say if you get a virtual queue, head on over to Magic Kingdom so you're there and can kind of watch. You can watch in the Disney app and see what virtual queue they're on. So even if you're afraid of missing your push notification or you're not sure if you're getting them, you can go in and look. And then if you're boarding group 47, it'll say we're on groups 27 to 37 and you'll know you're next. So pay attention to that and don't miss your slot.
And with Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, there's signs all over the park saying which virtual queue group is getting called back at that time. Hopefully that'll be the case at Magic as well.
Yeah, they may put those up. I didn't notice any when we were there for the previews, but I wouldn't have put them out for the previews either because it would have confused people.
Some people are riding it and others are not. Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, hopefully they'll put those out. That is always helpful.
All right, so we've talked about what you did like about Tron. What did you not care for?
Oh, it's just over so fast. It clocks in right at like 60 seconds. Everything goes by faster when you're on a ride that you're enjoying anyway. So it feels really, really short. I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Oh wait, are we stopping? It's over so fast. And so that's kind of, I feel like that's the only drawback is just that you barely get time to enjoy it. It's really cool. And then it's over just too fast. So it's just too short. I think an extra 30 seconds would have really, really helped it.
Yeah, I agree completely. It was over. You really just are kind of getting acclimated to the ride and it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And while we're on a virtual queue, and we haven't been waiting very long. I mean, when we went for the preview, we walked right through the queue. We got on very quickly.
Right.
Once the virtual queue launches for everybody, it's going to take a little bit longer. But you're still in a virtual queue. You know about when you're going to be able to ride. That's why they do the virtual queues, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I'll tell you who I feel sorry for, the folks 2 or 3 years from now who are going to wait 2 hours in that line, and the ride's over in 55, 57 seconds, whatever it may be. I feel like there's going to be folks thinking, I want my 2 hours back.
Right. And to that point, the time, yes, but also the money, because there will be individual lightning lanes for sale, probably somewhere in the range of $20 to $25 a ride. And I don't know that, I mean, that doesn't feel worth it to me, just because it's so short. So, I mean, if you really, really want to experience it, then, and you've got the money, then great, go for it. But I feel like the same thing, time is money. So 2 hours in line or $25 for the ride, either one, when you're done with it, you're like, wait, that's all. So yeah, I think that's going to be something that we hear a lot of people say. I think everybody's going to think it's a cool ride, and then they're going to realize, why was it over so fast?
Yeah.
So
how do you think this new attraction opening changes the Magic Kingdom?
Magic Kingdom is already the park that books park reservations first.
Right. There's been a lot of days that we wanted to go with our annual passes, and we could not get a reservation at Magic Kingdom. They seem to close off at Magic Kingdom before they get anywhere else.
It's what people think of when they think of Disney World. So if it's your first trip, you're booking Magic Kingdom. You may not book the other parks depending on the makeup of your party, but you're going to Magic Kingdom. Everybody goes to Magic Kingdom. And so it makes sense that it fills up. I think that it's a great addition to the Magic Kingdom. I think Tomorrowland has become a little bit dated. And so I think Tron is very futuristic and Tomorrowlandish. Mm-hmm. And so I think it really adds something. At the same time, Speedway laying there in the shadow of Tron, looking a little more dated than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's time for a refurbishment of the Tomorrowland Speedway.
Definitely need to do something with the Speedway. But so I think it's a great addition for the Magic Kingdom. They haven't had, a big ticket ride since, I guess, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Right.
And that's a very, that's an intro baby coaster. So this is a cool thrill ride for teenagers and people who love thrill rides. So I think it's a great addition to Magic Kingdom, and especially with Splash Mountain closing for refurbishment, they need that extra ride for, the big kids. While one of the mountains is closed, they need another draw. And so I think it's great. It ended up being great timing with it opening kind of right there after Splash Mountain closing. So I think it's really going to add something to it, to Magic Kingdom. I think it might make it a little harder to get Magic Kingdom reservations than it already was. It's going to make Magic Kingdom even more crowded than it already is sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I had hoped that when Tron opened, that would mean it would be easier to get or a shorter wait time for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which has been really long lines ever since it opened. But with Splash Mountain closed, I'm not sure that's the case anymore.
I don't think so, because I think that, it's a real easy walk from the exit of Tron right over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So if I'm looking to hit all the, the big kid rides and the thrill rides, again, not that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is very thrilling, but it is a roller coaster. Then I'm going to be heading there next. So it's an easy walk over there. And with Splash Mountain closed, it's the next thing you hit, I feel like. So Space, Tron, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, nice little walk.
All right. So this is choosing the magic. So we're all about the magic and the wands. How many wands do you give this ride? Your total summation, 1 being worst, 5 being best. How does this one rate for you?
I'd probably say a 4.
Yeah, I think it's a 4. I think that's exactly right. It's great. Now, I know that we've been trying to talk about both sides, right? The positives and the negatives for all of you who are listening. But if you haven't ridden this ride, you definitely want to do it. And if you can do it, if you can, I know this is, we're speaking from a place of privilege because we're Florida residents and our kids work there. But if you can get there while there's a virtual queue for Tron and ride this thing, you're going to be glad you did. If you can ride it while it's a virtual queue and you're not waiting 2 hours in the line for a 1-minute ride, you're going to be really happy. It's exhilarating. It's a lot of fun. You don't want to not ride it based on anything that we've said.
Definitely.
I promise.
Yeah. Definitely you want to ride it. Definitely want to do it while the virtual queue's there. Get the virtual queue on your Magic Kingdom day and just be paying attention to your app. Don't miss your slot. So,
Yeah. Apparently they're going to really start cracking down on that. They already have. It sounds like we've heard some reports from folks who missed their time slot and they were not allowed to ride it. And man, I feel sorry for the cast members that are having to enforce that because I know it's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah,
But they're
right.
really looking forward to this ride. So you're going to ride it. You're going to have a great time. And we would love to hear what you think when you ride it. So if you would, leave comments for us on the YouTube feed at Choosing the Magic. Leave a comment on this video. Leave a comment in the podcast comments on whatever podcast app you use. We would love to hear from you. What did you like about Tron? How does it compare to other attractions in the parks? We want to hear from you. You can always check out our blog, choosingthemagic.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow the podcast so you do not miss the next episode, because on the next episode, it's the main event. It is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind versus TRON-Lightcycle Run, and we are excited to break down the pros and cons of both and, which one ends up taking the victory. It's going to be an interesting conversation you don't want to miss. Thanks for joining us, friends. Have a great day.